Since the trucker convoy in Ottawa, political dissident Jeremy MacKenzie has been debanked. He can't even open a bank account in a Canadian banking institution. He's also having his military pension threatened, something that he earned fighting for the Canadian Armed Forces in Afghanistan. And he has also, since the trucker convoy, been thrown in jail twice on what many would argue are trumped up political charges. Mr. MacKenzie is now spending a lot of money to fight these charges in court. And based on recent information that's become publicly available, his legal proceedings may lead to a massive exposure of corruption in the Nova Scotian government. Of course, no one in the Conservative Party of Canada wants to talk about political prisoners or the unfair treatment of political dissidents in Canada, but we will. And the conversation starts now.
I promise you, I will not let you down.
The trucks parked outside illegally should move.
Canada's Conservatives will meet our Paris climate commitment.
Enough with the woke. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I take that back.
To champion our conservative principles.
We are the party of law and order.
To call in the auditors.
We haven't yet decided whether we're going to call for the government to impose a mandatory test or vaccination.
And we will win the next election. Canada must not ignore the reality of climate change.
Why weren't Canadians vaccinated in January and February like everyone else?
Welcome, everybody, to Controlled Opposition, episode 23. I'm Greg Wycliffe. With me is someone who you've seen before. He's a man who has been debanked. He's a man who has potentially thrown in jail multiple times. He's someone who's been vilified in the media. He's someone who's fought for this country in the Canadian Armed Forces, one of the most banned men in the country, Jeremy MacKenzie. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Good, Greg. I was just kind of listening to the music there. It's a good little beat you got. I still like it.
Yeah. People like the intro.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about, of course, the recent updates with your legal proceedings and how there could be potentially massive corruption exposed in the same process of what's going on with one of your cases there, or many of your cases. I don't know how many cases you have. You got as many cases. You have many cases as you do, logs back there. But we'll also be talking about, of course, the recent cowardice of Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party. We had a friend of ours, Rob Primo, pressing Pierre Poilievre in Niagara region. And we're going to go back to the green T-shirt guy, the straight pride T-shirt, because that's just like the sort of embarrassing event that seems to never get away from. And there's a clip I had that we're going to react to of this boomer on TikTok, this Canadian baby boomer who's a conservative supporter, and these people are kind of losing their minds with this whole green T-shirt stuff. But maybe we'll start with that, because that's been in the news like a couple weeks now. I know I've seen you talking about it on your podcast.
Briefly.
Yeah. It's almost like a dead horse at this point. I'm just like how weak and pathetic this Conservative Party is.
They always miss the mark. They always have the wrong take. You know, what I covered it was just that this is even a story at all is ridiculous. Like, that's the state of this country, that this is what we're arguing about. This is what is contentious. This is getting people, out of control. A 35-year-old man be denied life-saving treatment and died because he didn't have the right politics. We have a 60-year-old Toronto District School Board principal of 20-some years. He killed himself last week after being slandered, attacked, harassed, intimidated because he wasn't woke enough and he didn't believe in all the right things. That's where this country's going, into a death spiral of ruin. And you have boomers worried about T-shirts and fighting over T-shirts and who's taking pictures with people with T-shirts. And it's just, there's entirely too many people in this country that are talking that should not be talking. Yes.
And for those who don't know that story, maybe you've seen it. It's Garnet Harper, right? This is the story I think you were talking about.
Yep.
Denied a kidney transplant for not being vaccinated. It's still going on, folks. It's still going on.
even worse, add insult to injury, he died from kidney disease. He needed a kidney transplant, and he got kidney disease from medication that his expert, trust the science, doctor prescribed to him. So, good stuff, Canada. Yep.
Yeah, and I think you. Oh my God, where'd you go? Oh, there we go. Sorry.
To
Magic.
hell right along.
But no, I think you nailed it with your opening comment there, which is like we're going to be talking about T-shirts when this person is being denied a kidney transplant, and there's so much more going on. I think I'll just get into this clip right away because it really sort of nails like the insanity that these conservative party supporters are getting into. Like they're really starting to lose their minds with this with the green T-shirt guy. And actually, to bring everyone up to speed, in case I'm realizing now I actually haven't talked about the green T-shirt guy yet on Control Opposition, but I'm guessing most people watching have heard it. But essentially, a guy with the green T-shirt that said "Straight Pride" on it, and that said, "Hey, thank a straight couple for your existence." Took a picture with Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilievre. The media went crazy. This is hateful. This is hateful. It's not even a controversial shirt at all. It's kind of cheeky. It's kind of whatever. It's really not a big deal. And then when pressed, I'm pretty sure both of them disavowed and said, "Oh no, like I don't believe in this T-shirt."
Yeah, they're cowards.
Yeah,
they enable this. They enable this behavior by their inability. It's like having a spoiled child that is just out of control, and you just keep acquiescing to their demands, hoping that they'll stop throwing tantrums. The child isn't the problem. You are. You're a bad parent, and we have a bad parents in this government in all parties. From the left to there is no right. They're all left-wing parties. They all believe in the same things. They all hold the same positions on anything that matters. If it's mass migration, if it's climate targets, it doesn't matter. Anything that's fundamentally going to change the landscape and the makeup of this country going forward, they're all in agreement on all those things. So why are we sitting around arguing about cosmetic issues that don't make any difference, like a T-shirt? That's why. Because the conservatives love to get into stuff like this because that's more hours and time that they don't have to explain why they want to bring in millions of people in this country when we have nowhere to put them, we have no jobs for them, we have no resources for them, we don't have enough doctors, we're broke, we're destitute, violent crimes out of control. What the fuck are you doing? No time. T-shirt man. Is it too offensive? Is it not? Let's talk about this for weeks on end while we sit around paying an ever-expanding tax burden to a country that just dumps our money off to Haiti for abortions and sex changes in Pakistan, and whatever's left over we'll slava it into Ukraine.
And I think the really insidious thing that's happening here, this is something that we've been tracking since the show has begun, but there are a number of conservatives or freedom fighters or people who are against globalism. They're aware of globalism. They're aware of these concerns of our taxpayer money being wasted to, what happened with the unlawful instigation of the vaccines with the many other issues going on, mass migration. They're aware of these problems, yet they are somehow being swindled. They're being corralled back onto that conservative establishment plantation. They're still back on the plantation. And the mental gymnastics that these people are doing, I'm really starting to feel sorry for them, but also like trying to crack this code. Like these people are actually kind of, I don't know. It's almost like they have been overwhelmed with sort of fear or just like, I just want to get Trudeau out. Like that sort of he represents all of our problems. You know what? It's almost like Trump syndrome. Once we get Trump out, then all of our problems will go away. And it's
I think like most things, it comes down to education. People are ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about. It's instinctual, right? For thousands of years, most of our history as human beings, we lived under societies where you had a lord or a king or a chief or a jarl or something. There was a guy. There was the boss. There was, that. So when things go sideways, like people all instinctively understand this. We all know that we live in a pyramid society. There's a ladder, there's a chain, So when things start going badly and poorly, the instinct is to just obviously place that on who's the most powerful person in the land. That's who's responsible. If there's no food, it's because the king has screwed it up. If there's if there's too many wars, that's the king's fault, right? So they just think that, well, we got to get a new guy in there. So we got to get the libs out and put them in, and that's it. That is the extent of their political education and their understanding of the power structure, which is just, it's not flawed. It's not even remotely accurate. It's not even close. It's a childlike understanding of the way that the world works, where we are, the way the power structure works. It's just a binary: good guys, bad guys, get the libs out. It's not even remotely accurate, and that's what they think is going on. So it's just a simple problem. It's sock boy, and we got to get rid of him, and then everything will go back to normal, and that's that. And anyone that gets in the way of that is the enemy, and that's basically the kind of sheep mentality of most conservatives walking around, and then you can't even reason with them. You try, but it's difficult, man. They're just as bad as the other side.
It is very much like a fairy tale. It's a childlike fairy tale where this is the bad guy, this is the good guy. And it's life is simple. But I think that's an important distinction. It's not so much that people are ignorant or uneducated, because you'll see university professors, some of the craziest, far left-wing people are educated.
They're not educated, they're indoctrinated. There's a difference.
True. The far left people or the leftist people, the establishment people are much more indoctrinated. But when it comes to these right-wing people who still might be intelligent, I think you're right. It's a lack of political understanding, like you were just saying.
That's what I mean.
Right?
They came online because of the convoy, and because or just the general sense of degradation. Like instinctively, everybody knows things are getting worse. You can see it everywhere. There's visual reminders. There's physical reminders. It's everywhere. There's more trash. There's more crime. There's more violence. Like things are not as maintained as well as they used to be. The wait times are longer. Nothing's working properly. So you can tell things are degrading. And it's just, well, who's currently sitting in the big chair? That must be the problem. And it's just kind of reached this point, and it boiled over with the convoy, that a lot of these people think that that's what it is. And that's the breadth and depth of their political education and understanding. That's it, which is nothing, versus, some other people. I mean, I've kind of been studying this problem for about 10 years, and I've been actively engaged in it for the last 5, arguing with people and debating things. And I've had to.
You've made a lot of progress in that time.
I've changed a lot, and I've learned a lot of things, and I've really, and I'm still trying to. You're never done, right? There's always more to know. You're never going to learn everything and know everything that there is to know until you're dead. You could learn every day, and you'll never even know 5% of everything that's out there. So you just do the best you can. But it was a tweet that just kind of came to me, and I put this on Twitter and I pinned it to my page, and it was something like, just because you see it every day, I see the same. It's not that we're incapable, we're just distracted. And I thought, if every man in this country, because I used to be one of these men, I would put the amount of time, and I've since done this, the amount of time, energy, care, and passion that the average man puts into like a sports franchise, if they applied that to their country, their home, their people, this place would turn around by Friday. I used to know every player in the NHL. I used to know who played for who was on what line, who had the most I have all this useless information in my head. Because that's what I spend my time and passion and energy studying, looking at, trying to who should play for who and who should be traded where and blah blah. Distractions. These are children's games. It has nothing to do with me. This is just a business sports franchise. But this artificial tribalism has replaced our actual tribalism, and we don't have any national identity. The average man has more in common. His tribe, if you ask him, I'm a Sharks fan. I'm a Bombers fan. I'm a that's not anything. But if you took that kind of energy and applied it to what is happening in the world that I'm in, be a real man and take responsibility for your existence, and don't just sit there and be a victim as the weaseliest, scummiest, lying sons of bitches that have ever lived. Rob this place blind and steal your birthright away from you and your family and your children. Instead, you've got your head buried into nonsense world and video games and sports, and it's just we're just distracted. If you just got out of that and took the same amount of energy and put it into something that mattered, man, this would be all over. So we're fighting. It's hard. You got to somehow draw them out of there, and it's difficult to do. Not everyone wants to. Some people just want to be entertained all day, right?
So much of mainstream culture of normies is central to sports ball, to sports, and it'd be funny to compare the amount of white Canadian men who have an opinion about mass migration per se versus having an opinion about Ovechkin's wrist shot last night. That's really terrible. That sounded. I just outed myself as someone who does not watch sports.
That might have flown 10 years ago. That would have been, no one would have noticed. But it's Ovechkin's wrist shot.
I don't know. I don't know the latest.
Prime by, I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah, just say Brett Hull or something. Then you're really dating yourself.
Right, but you know what I mean. Though. I'm sure a lot of guys. a lot of guys that have all these opinions about this trade or that trade or whatever happened. Like, oh yeah, this is what I think. Oh, mass migration, zip.
Yeah, I would just, I'm the kind of guy that like when I get into something, I really get into it. Like I apply to it and I like it. If I'm interested in it, like I kind of go hard, and that's, whether it was the military, whether it was hockey or whatever it was. And this is what I do now instead. And this is far more rewarding and fulfilling because it's real. This is real life. Yeah. I mean, it's not real. I was just in jail. Pretty sure it is, pretty sure. Are they really trying to get you, though? Well, if you paid attention in court yesterday, that should be, those kinds of doubts should be rapidly dissipating. Lots of my, critics and detractors want to, make all kinds of accusations, but they don't want to face reality. They're not around now. They don't have anything to say anymore, and they're going to have even less to say next week as more things are going to be coming out and unraveling. It's just. I'm here for it. I haven't changed my story at all. I've maintained my innocence. I've said the same thing. I've told people what happened, and I've maintained that for 2 years now. And I'm going to be vindicated. I'm going to be proven right. It's going to be embarrassing for them. They're not going to report on it. They're going to try to run away, and I'm just going to, keep being me. And everybody that turned their back on me and tried to, create nonsense and say, but yeah, no amnesty, no forgiveness, right? I know who my friends are, and I know who they're not. More importantly,
right? But they will pretend to be your friend when it makes a good headline,
right?
Like, hey,
yeah, no, no interview denied. I know who I'm not talking to ever again, right?
Cool. Yeah. Oh man, I was gonna say something there, but I just lost it. Let's go to a comment from a viewer actually, which is back to Garnet Harper, who passed away from not getting a kidney transplant. Chet Chisholm in chat said, it's even worse than reported. Garnet had friends come forward and they volunteered to donate their kidney so he wouldn't go without. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is insane if that's true.
He was from what I understand, somebody sent me the story, and he was quite popular in Sudbury. He was he was one of us. Like he was a kind of a freedom like he was a outspoken, things are not right.
Well, I mean, he's having all these kids. Like, look at all this. Look at all this. Like these climate catastrophes going on. It's very problematic. All these breathers, right?
If anybody's interested, independent _journalism on Instagram, she goes by. Monique interviewed his wife there, and I think a brother or a friend or something was on there talking about it. I caught a little bit of it, but yeah, it shouldn't happen. It's unacceptable, and that should be the fucking story of the week, not T-shirt guy. And when Canadians don't force this issue because they're not entertained by the Garnett story. That's right. That's boring. They want to talk about T-shirt guy because that's what the news is talking about, and they want to be part of the fun. So I just look down on people like that. I really do. I look at them and I'm like, you disgust me. You make me feel physically ill that you're this, easily manipulated and waste your time with these stupid fucking things.
And we need to lean into that. We need to lean into that. Dare I say, moral superiority, because that's what our enemies do, and it's also something that's galvanizing. It's something that's empowering, and it's something that's contagious, and simultaneously shames and excludes other people. And when they get shamed and excluded, they're going to start thinking about their priorities. They're going to start thinking about, oh, maybe I should care about an unvaccinated person passing away, right? And actually, you reminded me of the point I was just going to say is like, do you ever hear, oh, Canadian politics is boring? You were just talking about how you get like in jail. It's like, it's really boring, isn't it? Yeah,
it isn't. It's pretty crazy. This is one of the best reality shows nobody's watching is Canada. Now I thought I was going to say something and I can't remember now.
Crap. A space laser destroyed the thought.
I don't know. It was something about something being something. We'll figure it out. It'll come back to me.
All right. Actually, while we're on this kind of I
remember now, the moral superiority thing, and the best part about it is it's not, and this is why it works. This is why it works for our people and why our people are legitimate, and the zombies don't have souls and they're goblins and they must be destroyed, because you can't just virtue signal and be one of us. You have to put up. You're going to be confronted with things in life. Then you're going to be expected to we don't believe this, we don't do that, we don't support this, you're going to have to make choices and make decisions that are going to put you in uncomfortable ones, right? You're going to have to prove it. You can't do that if you're one of these. You can't do that as a boomer con mainline conservative. You can't do that as a liberal. You can't They just change a Facebook filter, and they're in that club now. Oh, they put pronouns in their bio. Oh, such a hard-fought, hard-earned battle. Did you put pronouns in your bio? Good for you. You're such a hero, right? Versus people over here is like, you got to go to jail. You're going to lose a bank account. You're going to have all kinds of problems. That's what you're in for if you take up. You want to take up the colors of this side of the war. Things are going to be coming your way, and they're not going to be pleasant. Are you ready for that? So it's a lot harder to find. You can weed out fake people pretty quick over here, and then you get Fed jacketed for doing that. People will come after you and say all kinds of things with no evidence, nothing to base it on. They just want to create doubt and division and try to tear down the few remaining men that we do have actually standing against the state. We have such a demoralized and broken population that the idea that an actual man could stand up on his own 2 feet and say, fuck you, I am not bowing down to you, it's impossible, because they could never envision themselves doing it because they're cowards. So therefore, it's impossible, and no one would be doing that. They must be feds. It's the only explanation.
And
And
with that in mind, let's look at the timeline after the trucker convoy. Speaking of men standing up and saying, fuck you, there was this massive anti-establishment movement, and then Pierre Poilievre showed up and said, like, you're my people. And now we've come so crunched down into what we're allowed to say, what we're allowed to do, what we're allowed to stand up for. No one cares about vaccines anymore, or the unvaccinated. All these other huge seismically important issues. And now it's like, no, you can't say anything about the green T-shirt. You can't say anything about straight pride. That's hate now.
Which is like, I would appeal to the conservative base. Like, do you see what they've done to you? If you're of the opinion, and many of them are, that something needs to be done about this. This vaccine stuff. This was horrible. We segregated society. We pushed people out of their jobs. People are killing themselves, and they still are. Their lives are being destroyed. You don't get away with this. And the conservatives have we'll just forget about that. Come on, we'll just forget about it. Leave it behind. Come on. Who are you? You're not my friend. You're the enemy. Mm-hmm. This needs to be addressed now, and you refuse to. And you're willing to support these people. They're murderers. They got rich. Him especially. Him and his wife made how much money? Right? And they're there. Stay home, stay safe. Just get the shot. Well, we need vaccines even faster. I would argue that if the conservatives were in power when this happened, it would have been worse. It would have been much worse. I think they would have been heavy. They love to bring in the police and crack down on shit like that. They would have been as bad as the liberal government has been for political dissent in this country. Mark my words. If you think it's bad with them, try it with a conservative government. Way worse. Do you know who sent the police after me? Wasn't the liberals. It was the Conservative Party.
Yep.
More than
people
once.
need to realize this, man. It's the Canadian regime. It's not the liberal regime. It's the Canadian regime. They're both there, left and right. They're ready to just mess with you.
They just want to occupy that middle management position with a bigger paycheck. That's all they're jockeying for. They're competing like a reality show for who gets to wear the crown for the next 4 years and get paid extra money to feel important. That's all you're doing. You're participating in a reality show. There's not going to be any difference made whatsoever. These people are pathetic. And they can't confront the Canadian media. They can't stand up to they don't have the guts to stand in front of somebody like fucking Rachel Gilmore and say, shut up, shut your lying mouth. Just shut up. And they can't do it. They're worried about that. Well, what's the media going to say? And, we can't upset the trans community. And you think these people, honest question, if you're a conservative-based person, you think that person is going to go to war with the forces of the world that control the World Economic Forum, Bilderberg, Davos, billionaires, the Rothschild family, and they're going to fight them and win when they're afraid of Rachel Gilmore, but somehow... Come on. And then they'll say, well, it's the only choice. No, look in the mirror. Stop hoping some other man, who is arguably barely a man, in my opinion, is going to come along and just do he's going to fix your problems for you. You don't have to get involved. Hope some other men come along and do it for you while you sit home and eat cheese. How much do you really care about this country if you've been here? Okay, here's what we have to offer as a resistance, and you're like, this is acceptable. I'll stay home, And you're okay with that, right? As it's like, so if there's any confusion as to why I don't like you, I don't respect you. I think you're weak and cowardly if you're supporting this, because you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who are we allowed to attack in this country? Who are we allowed to smear in this country and get mad at and shame? We're only allowed.
Guys!
That's right, white guys or people who are challenging the liberal narrative. You know,
and white women. I wanted to mention this. It just popped up, and I had this thought. I was like, I gotta say this on stream sometime. Women. I can shame men. I can say you guys are weak cowards and you're all being pussies and all this kind of stuff. But they'll just be like, oh, he's a Nazi. It hits different when it comes from women. You know, when a bunch of women are being like, you're not even a man. You're a coward. You're a half man. What are you, a baby? Oh, you're going to go watch your sports games, you little boy? You little boy now? You have a bunch of women telling you that? And it's true. It's going to cut deep. You're going to be thinking about that at night, right? So make shaming great again, and I think the women of Dagalon should put that. That's something they can do. That's a unique power they have to be shamed by women. Men don't respond well to that. They're either going to correct themselves because they don't want that. They're not going to want to face that day in and day out and have this happen. Men you can fight, women you can't. So it's like, what do you do? You don't gotta beat them up, right? Especially if they're right, and I think they would be, because these men, these so-called conservative men, they've abandoned their responsibilities, they've abandoned their duty to the nation, they've abandoned the rest of us, right? Like look at the and I don't agree with this tactic, but at the time, World War I, you had these groups of women going around handing out feathers to men that they didn't volunteer. It's like, oh no, you don't have to fight, you're special. Have a fucking feather. Special boy. My whole family's over there. My brothers and my dad are gone. But are your hands too dainty? You can't you can't go. Okay. Oh, okay. Other men will die for you in your behalf. Okay, you're a special boy. And and it worked really well. Nobody wanted that. And they'd sit there with the feather and they go, oh, right. And then they go, and then they get killed in France, whatever. But I'm not telling people to go force people into wars. I'm saying care about things that matter, please, and stop wasting your time with child's games. And I can only do so much, so I hope the women shame more men. Because there's a lot of them. There's more politically active women in this country than men. 59% of my Instagram followers are female. How is that possible? How does that happen? In the old days, it would be 95% men. Women never cared about politics. Now they're the majority of the people involved in politics.
I think it might be because of that strong maternal instinct. Because oftentimes when it comes to the politically active people or women, there are a lot of moms, and they have that that mother bear instinct, and something's wrong. Yeah. And also, maybe this is controversial, maybe not, but I think women might have a more sensitivity to abusive people or abusive behavior. And if you look at how our not just the liberals, not just Trudeau. Also Singh and also Poilievre, if you look at how all these politicians speak, it's like, oh, they're the abusive boyfriend. Oh, I get it. I've seen this before.
I'm in a toxic relationship with the gaslighting government.
Leave him. You're better than him. Leave him. God, all of them. Leave all whatever.
Woman, when he goes to work, pack your shit and run. Just go for it. Like, he's not going to be back for hours. He won't know. You got a 6-hour head start. Get out of there. It's
cliche, but love yourself. Start loving yourself, respecting yourself. Yeah. I want to thank the Hypocrites Matrix for the big super chat, $20. He gives the / purple heart arrow, big guts. Nice. Big guts to that purple arrow. So true. There you go. And I think you're right. People don't care about important things anymore. They care about sports ball. And just to get back on these people who are lost in this smog, maybe they're watching now. They're starting to question Pierre Poilievre. Maybe they're starting to see the light. And I really hope so, because the people who aren't are really stuck in this sort of, I don't know where they are. I really want to play this clip though, because it really kind of captures this.
Yeah, I'm interested. I haven't seen
this kind of weird state they are. So to set it up, this is the green T-shirt guy in the background, okay? And he, hold on, he made a statement.
What's the time you're playing this at? What time?
I'll start playing it at 40 seconds, if I could even find the
page here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So the green t-shirt guy basically made a statement saying, yeah, I really thought Danielle Smith is the real deal. And I just went out and got a picture with her and blah, blah, blah. And there is I've seen this guy on TikTok before. He's kind of a sweet guy, but he's obviously they think the green t-shirt guy is a plant. They're like, he's a plant, guys. And this confirms it. And just watch how this guy reacts. I'm going to start at 38 seconds. Okay. Watch how this guy is reacting to the green t-shirt guy speaking.
No, I'm a little disappointed in her. As for Pierre,
because she understands the media.
Because she understands the media. She understands the media. And it's like, dude, this, man, I just want to stop on just that one point. It's because she understands.
Is it wrong that I want to hurt him already?
Oh man,
he's got glasses, but jeez.
No, and see, I've seen this guy on TikTok before, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really upset with Trudeau," and he's doubted the Conservative Party a bit, but it's like he's so stuck in this whole media thing, and I think that it's really messed up because the media supports the destruction and vilification of everything to do with nationalism, of everything to do with white people, of everything to do with conservatism.
It's just kind of coming to me through the ether right now. These guys from the boomers, right, from that generation, they never had to do shit. They had no wars. They had no real economic problems. They basically remember hearing this as a kid. I used to hear this as a kid, and I would think, is that true? They're like, oh, don't worry, everything will work out in the end. And that is their life. That is their life experience. Everything does work out in the end. If you're the boomers,
their mantra.
Everything does eventually settle down, right? And they think that oh no, it's still going to be like they're so naive to the actual state of things, how bad things really are, that they think we just have to it's going to work out, it's going to be fine. It's like they're incapable of accepting what's right in front of them. They're law, and they're not. I don't know what it's going to take. Most of them are pretty blind to it. I wonder if those generations, those decades of just having it pretty good, have just sent them too far over the edge. Because our generation, I was basically came online as an adult. Not even. I was 15 when 9/11 happened. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't even get to be an adult man before there's police state crap happening. And it's just been one catastrophe and anxiety-inducing nightmare after another since then. I didn't get to live through the 70s, the 80s, the 60s, in Canada especially. There was no Vietnam draft or anything. No, we didn't have any race riots. We didn't have anything up here. Yeah. It was just, it'll be work. Everything will be fine, boy. It was. For 70 years, everything was fine. Now it's not. And they think, no, it'll still, they're in denial. They're all in denial.
What were the big major events in the baby boomers' lifetime? I guess the JFK assassination, maybe. And I think what's important actually for Canadian baby boomers is the Vietnam War didn't really apply to Canadians, to Canadian baby boomers. That didn't really affect us. No, not well. There wasn't any people.
We've never had
going to war.
We've never had to defend ourselves. Americans, we've never had to fight. If you wanted, it was more like being a tourist. It's like you go join someone else's war in Canada. It's like, well, America's fighting this war now. You want to join in? That's kind of what we did. We never had to. There was never a Canadian problem that required Canadian men to solve it. It was always someone else's problem when we're pitching in. It was, if we felt like it, and if we didn't, we could just take our ball and go home. The Taliban was never going to follow us to Canada. Well, I guess they're here now, but they were never going to come over here and kill us, right? So it was like.
But let's compare baby boomers right now, okay? We just saw a right-wing baby boomer, a conservative baby boomer, and this one is a left-wing baby boomer, okay? So let me just bring it up on screen here.
We got 5 seconds for that clip.
Yeah. We'll get back to it.
Yeah. Okay.
But so this is Nancy Krause.
Hi, Nancy.
She's got she looks
She's
like
a professional
sweet
victim, I see. Good.
Yeah, that's correct. And she tweeted this: "Glasses or not, he's an authoritarian fascist who is a threat to democracy in Canada." Okay. And this got
we've got a lot of NPC, a lot of NPC symptoms here. Go back to her. I'm going to diagnose Nancy right now. You had the pronouns, the chip pronouns. I saw a rainbow flag. So she's got virtue signals. What is that blue one? Is that
oh my
NATO
God.
Flag?
That's the United Nations flag.
Yeah, okay. And dogs. So apparently she thinks she's probably a dog mom, one of these people. She thinks her astrological sign is important. That's in there. She's a professional victim. She has complex PTSD. Apparently, okay, that's good. And then now she's a threat to democracy is a dog whistle. It's just a program term that means what is a threat to democracy? That doesn't mean anything. Like how, why, and no, he's not a fascist. He's a liberal. Okay,
right.
Fascism is not what he is about at all. Not even close, Nancy. You don't have any idea what you're talking about. People just think fascism, authoritarian. It should be people. Someone I don't like.
Yes,
okay. That's how educated the Canadian person is. What political ideology, philosophy is. Fascism is whatever I don't like. So in Nancy's case, this guy, who in a fascist government would probably be beaten up regularly for being a nerd, like he wouldn't even be allowed in the door. They wouldn't even let this guy in the building, and she thinks he's Hitler. So I mean, that's how far gone her brain is.
All right. Did not plan on roasting Nancy Krause on the stream, but Nancy, if
I
you're
didn't want to do
watching,
it, Nancy. I didn't want to do it. You left me no choice.
It happens. But I want to emphasize this. I want to put this on screen because this message of, Pierre Poilievre is a fascist. This message is supported by the mainstream media. The destruction and vilification of anything to do with conservatism, anything to do with nationalism, everything to do with being white, for example. So, and then meanwhile, we have this baby boomer over here saying, oh, because she understands the media. It's about the media. You mean the same media that's vilifying us and vilifying nationalists and vilifying all these things that you want for your country. So it's like, he doesn't get it. We're supposed to be little slaves to the media and we're supposed to lose. Like,
I think what he means is, I don't know. This is like, again, he spoke for 2 seconds. He said 3 words, and I'm already like, I know everything about this man.
We can play the rest if you want. Want to play the rest?
But I think what he meant was she understands the media is like she has to say the justification, right? Like, well, if I say this, the media will say that. If I do this, like it's 5D chess, bro. That's basically what he's saying, and he's wrong. The answer is you don't need to understand the media. You need to fucking destroy the media because they're the enemy. Every time they stick a microphone in your face is an opportunity for you to rip them apart in front of everyone else live on TV. And that's what you should be doing everywhere you go. Donald Trump did that, and he did very well. These people are just cowards. It would be so bad. Like the media would never, and they don't, nobody wants to interview me. The few times that they didn't air a fucking word I said. They didn't print anything I said because it wasn't going to work for them. And God help them if they ever tried to interview me. I said it to CBC once. They were like, you want to come in and talk to Fifth Estate? I said, I'll do it live. And they're like, well, we don't do live shows. I'm like, yeah, I know you don't. Yeah. Right.
And they'd watch over the footage and be like, he's too testosterone-y. I don't know. It's too high T levels. We can't have that.
He seems healthy. I think he's healthy. We can't have that. We need damaged, broken, dispirited slaves.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's keep playing this. I'm going to start it from, 38 again? Yeah, 38 again.
We got to relive those 3 seconds.
We're going to get through the rest of it because you'll see more of this weird sort of coping, trying to make sense of. You'll see.
No, I'm a little disappointed in her. As for Pierre,
she understands the media.
I had high hopes for this guy. I thought he was truly great. I thought he was going to bring Canada back again. I thought he was our Donald Trump of Canada, but it turns out, you know what? He's just
this guy, I told you, there's a setup feel to it. Something didn't feel right. I said that. I knew it.
She lost my vote too.
This guy,
it's time for reform. It's time to change our governments, and it's time
he's
for the
part
people to
and
stand up
parcel
and
of the
unite.
package.
All races, all colors.
He's either an
all
NDP
genders.
dude or he's all in liberal.
I mean, it's what? Like what is going? Like these Canadian baby boomers who support the Conservative Party are losing their minds. They're losing their minds.
Mentality, weak, cowardly, pathetic, right? So they're going to create excuses is what he's doing. He's making excuses for like, oh, he's a plant, bro. It's like, okay, so you're saying this is an enemy operative that has come in to put your guy in a compromising position, make him look bad. And
I guess,
he got made to look bad. And why does he look bad in front of conservatives? Because he didn't take the principled moral stand on the issue. And they're saying, which is his fault. He could have done that. He could have walked. Let's say he is. Let's say, okay, I'm a liberal plant. I'm going to have some kind of straight pride shirt, and I'm going to go in there. And what if the opposite happens? What if he turns around and they're like, do you have any comment on this guy's T-shirt? Blah, blah, blah. And be like, I have no problem with it. It's a shirt. I thought it was funny. What's wrong with that? I have a lot of problems with the things you guys are reporting. You don't seem to care too much about the damage you're causing this society with this transgender madness. I'm certainly not going to take issue with something which is as normal and healthy as an apple out of a tree. What the hell is wrong with you? He could have said that. Instead, he went, flake, hide, pander. And that was the liberals made him do that, did they? Did the liberals make her do that? The liberals made her acquiesce to the media and hide and act like a weasel? You're making excuses for losers, is what you're doing.
And especially with this straight pride t-shirt, I bet you could take thousands of Canadians in like high school, let's just say 1 million Canadians, and you confront them with the same thing. Hey, you wore the straight pride t-shirt. What are you going to do about it? I bet out of those 1 million responses, majority, 95% of people would have a much better response than Pierre Poilievre did. They'd be like, "Oh, I don't really care. It's just a t-shirt, bro." You know, like that's a much better response. They don't know anything about politics. Like, you don't need to know anything about politics to have a much better response to the way that Pierre Poilievre responded here. Just total, man.
They're afraid. They're afraid of being slandered. The R word, any of the isms, phobes, any of the stuff that they call us, they do not. They'll die first. They will. They'll never, ever, ever. They're pro-climate accord. They're pro-mass migration. Again, everything that's going to destroy this country and ruin the middle class, two of the biggest things are the sustainable development goals, the climate agenda crap. Conservatives are on board with it. Number two, and, well, it should be number one, the most destructive thing in this country is mass migration. Conservatives love that, too. So the two biggest problems we have, they're on board with it. And you're like, yeah, but he's got a blue shirt on. And I'm supposed to... That's not an argument, guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to say how this should work is like, well, what about this? They agree with all the same things. And if you said, no, here is their policy platform, and here's actually how they're not, and I go, oh, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. But that's not what you're doing. You're just like, yeah, well, you have stupid hair. Like, that's your response. And this is the same thing that when we would criticize the liberals about, they would respond with, yeah, well, you're racist. And you go, oh, geez, see, that's all they have is stupid insults. Now you have the conservative base doing the exact same thing. You're just the right-wing NPC. You're the A, B side of the same record. You're the same thing. You're a low information, ignorant person who doesn't know what they're talking about and is driven by you're annoyed and frustrated with the status quo, and you're blaming it on the regime, and you think that if you get rid of the main guy, the good guys will win. You're like a child. You have like a baby's level understanding of the world you're in.
And if you think of it like a tug of war, if we look at it like zoomed out a bit, a lot of conservative types like this who are a little bit kind of delusional and brainwashed at this point, you know, they like to think of, oh, like Trudeau is so bad and the far leftists are so bad, right? But if it's like a tug of war, because they are accepting that this conservative party is going to essentially endorse a lot of United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda goals, because they're going to support the media and be like, we need to play nice with the media, they're essentially saying, okay, I'm going to start pulling on this side, with the liberal side. They're starting to pull on this side.
People hate the media. And this is this is something else I wanted to mention as well, because this has happened before, and I want just to get it out there before it does, so people can prophetically go back and go, geez, he was right again. I fucking love it when that happens. In other countries, Greece is an example. They have a election coming up, and there is a kind of a upstart, disruptive group of right-wingers, conservatives. And they're saying all the same things, you know, the mass migration, the carbon, and all this stuff. It's got to stop. Greece for the Greeks, and, you know, this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then right up towards election time, guess what their equivalent of the Conservative Party, what do they start doing? They start using a lot of Greek flags and being really pro-nationalist Greece, and Greece for the Greeks, and we're going to decide who comes into this country, and blah, blah, blah. And then they get elected, and it all goes out the window.
Yes.
Twice that's happened. And there was another, Australia did the same thing, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this starts getting ugly and it looks like they're going to lose. They're going to do it. And everyone's going, finally, we got based PP. Finally. It's an act. It's a lie. And when he gets in there, he's going to do the exact same shit they always did. Write it down. Write it down right now. I know you're watching. Write it down. Write down the date. Okay? Save this video. I promise you, you're going to see it happen. Watch. And now I don't remember what the other thing I was going to say. So you go.
I see. I'm just mad because you're so right about that. Because all it would take is, a month up to the election time.
Yep.
Pierre Poilievre being like, you know what? And
The
I
old
think
bait-
the trans education is bad.
Yep.
Whoa, he's totally our guy.
The
We totally
old
gonna
bait
vote
and
for
switch,
him.
and he'll do
Whoa.
it like this.
It'll be 1 week. 1 week
Yeah.
is the trans stuff is bad. The next week, the migrants are out of control. Maybe we got to send some in the back. And this Ukraine war thing has got to stop. Hey, they won. Well, I mean,
And guys, you're not going to like this example, but that's the equivalent of, hey, maybe you got date raped at the bar and you're back at his place and he's like, hey babe, like I really like you. I really love you a lot. Like that's the same thing as like, oh wow, like he's really into me. It's a total lie. He's saying that because he wants to get in your pants. Don't let him do it.
Yep.
Okay, don't let him do it.
They will. It's a bait and switch. And it would like that guy, that boomer guy, he it would work on him. And the funny thing is, like, they'll come after us and get mad at us for criticizing these people on these things, but deep down, secretly, it's like, I wish everything you guys were saying I wish they would do all these things. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know it, I know it, so why don't you say that? Why don't you withhold your support and say, no, I'm not helping you do shit until you act right? We know their own base is allowing this to happen. They should abandon the Conservative Party entirely until they fix themselves or they die. And if they die, good. Then we'll just make a new one with better people. But the show goes on as long as these ignorant, lazy people want to keep playing make-believe and looking for excuses and wanting to press the easy button rather than facing the music.
And people will try to say, oh, well, the PPC, Max Bernier has no chance. It's not about that. It's about your morality. It's about doing the right thing, okay?
That's another cope. They want to talk about Max Bernier. Like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm not talking about Max Bernier. I'm saying there is a fake left and right. It's one party. They're all the same, and you're supporting it. Yeah, well, Max didn't even win.
Okay.
Are you drunk? Are you high? What's wrong with you? How many boosters did you get? Probably a few. There's a lot of conservatives that did that too, and now they want to act like they didn't.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, it's Bernier. It's like, well, this Conservative Party that you're letting get away with moral cowardice over and over and over again, they're going to be the ones with the levers of power. Okay, they're going to be the ones in charge, and you have validated and basically rewarded them for being cowards. You've rewarded them for being cowards, and you're standing by as they're being coward again and again and again. What do you think that tells them? Hey, we can get away with quite a lot.
Again, a lot of the QAnon boomers love the conservatives too. Did you know the Dominion voting machines everybody's all worried about? Guess what the conservatives use to decide their leadership races?
The Dominion voting machines.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's right in our faces. We've been talking about this on the show for a long time, but our friend Rob Primo went to go see Pierre Poilievre. This was yesterday. Was the third time the charm? You tell me. Pierre Poilievre, will you denounce the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Also, when you become prime minister, will you get us out of the Paris Climate Accord? Now, I'm going to play the first part where he asked the question. Let's hear.
Question for you. Last time I was here, Mark Friesen asked you about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah. You said
Do you have a copy?
No.
You have a copy?
Come on, tell me you still don't know.
You should bring a copy.
But you have voted for favor.
Pause. Pretty good deflection there. Like you'll see actually in this clip, Pierre is getting better at filibustering and sort of doing the same thing Trudeau is, where he just talks a bunch and without actually answering the question. But
I'm trying to find the clip from Primo's. You can't even find him on Twitter. I just tried to find Rob Primo. You can't. So,
is it not coming up for you?
No, I can't hear it.
Here, let me.
I can tell by his body language he's lying.
Here,
the fake enthusiasm and like, do you think I'm an idiot, dude? Well, he does. He does think most of you are idiots.
So he says, "Do you have a copy of it? Do you have a copy of the Sustainable Development Goals?" And then let's see what keeps going here.
In the House of Commons.
Let me clarify this for you.
Yes, please do. Because I want you on my team, man. I really do.
Absolutely. Well, there's only two teams. It's either going to be Trudeau or me as Prime Minister.
Right.
It's either because then you've got Trudeau and Bernier who are part of the World Economic Forum, or you've got me who works for Canada.
Now, I want to pause that. He says you either have Trudeau and Bernier working with the World Economic Forum, or you have the Conservative Party. Now, what I love about this is exactly what Jagmeet Singh does. Jagmeet Singh and the NDP are literally in a coalition government with the Liberals. Instead of saying, and what does he do? He says, this is Jagmeet Singh. He says, yes, the Conservatives and the Liberals are working together. But then there's me at the NDP. It's like the stupidest It's like, you think I'm dumb? You think I'm stupid?
Well,
why is he even bringing up Bernier?
NDP voters are pretty dumb. I think they're the dumbest ones. They're the newest. They're people. Almost everyone I've ever met that is or was an NDP supporter has been interested in politics for about 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's like the trendy thing. It's like, ooh, the climate.
They're just a bunch of guys named Singh that are stealing cars. It's one or the other.
It could go either way, really. When it comes, they could either be young, starry-eyed, new to politics, or they could be carjackers.
They could be. Toronto just busted a pile of them, and there's like 20-some guys arrested in this giant auto theft ring, and something like 15 of them are named Singh.
Amazing.
Diversity is a strength. Yeah.
Scott Murphy sent in $14 saying Hamilton fundraiser 2.0.
Food. Sorry.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Tristan Cauliflower, thanks for becoming a plaid patriot. And then also Dorothy Wizzy Wizard with $2.79. May the whiz be with you both. May the whiz be with you.
And a whiz to you, sir.
Right. So we're gonna go to the end of this clip now, which is, I'm really glad because freaking Poilievre did a good job at being full of BS and saying all this, but thankfully Rob Primo saved it with this question at the end here.
The Paris Climate, the Paris Climate Accord. That's the last question. When you're Prime Minister, will you denounce the Paris Climate Accord or no?
When you are Prime Minister, will you denounce the Paris Climate Accord is the question.
We're gonna hit the emissions reduction targets.
Is it fair to say no, you won't then?
We're gonna hit the emissions reduction targets. He gets like super Millhouse mode here. Super Millhouse mode. Watch this. No, watch the body language too. He gets like.
There's a ton of other people now. I've seen this on Twitter like 5 times that think that they created the Millhouse meme. It's really funny. I don't correct them. I'm just like, you're a silly boy.
All memes in Canada flow outward from Diagolon.
Many.
That's how it works.
If they're making politicians bleed metaphorically, yeah, it probably came from us.
Absolutely. But let's watch the rest of this clip here.
Hit the emissions reduction targets.
Is it fair to say no, you won't then?
We're gonna reduce the emissions, and we're going to deliver lower costs at the same time. That's my agenda. That's my policy, and
yeah, it's a United Nations policy, bud. Yeah. So it's like right in front of you. It's like, oh, sustainable development goals. No, it's all about Trudeau and Bernier. I'm for the Canadian people.
He's gonna lose.
We're going to reach the targets. We're going to reach the targets. A second later, like in the same breath, he's basically saying, I'm not with the UN. Also, I'm with the UN.
What that means is, what reaching the target means is destroying your standard of living. The targets, the climate targets are incumbent on a reduction of carbon, which means less driving, which means less industry, less jobs, less money in your pocket, because we need money to fund all of this fucking nonsense. And that's what it's designed to do. The whole point of these sustainable development goals, it's called that nefariously to make people believe it sounds nice. It sounds, they're not going to give you a brochure covered in skulls and bones and say, please help us kill you. Like, they're not going to do that. So
but Jeremy, the Sustainable Development Goals say that they're going to stop poverty,
right?
And end hunger.
Yeah, it says make all the stuff better. Like, oh, does it? Does it say make all the stuff better? We could end hunger. We could feed everybody in the world if we wanted to. We don't want to. It's on purpose. Everything's it's a market, right? But the whole point is to destroy the middle class. If a free country, a free society has a strong middle class, because they can. This wouldn't have worked. This kind of stuff wouldn't have worked on America. The communists talk about this. Like, why couldn't they do the same kind of communist revolution they did in Russia? Why couldn't they do that in America? In Russia, they had the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The old, they had the haves and the have-nots, and they basically had a ton of poor people and a few rich people that were running, and they just turned them against them, just overthrow the power structure and install your own people. Well, you can't do that in America or the West, because you have most people, we're middle class, and it's like, yeah, but I have a nice house, I got a car, I got a vacation home, I get time off, and the summer, my life's pretty good. It's not perfect, it's not amazing, but I'm not gonna. I'm not setting anything on fire. I'm not flipping police cars. I'm not riding in the streets. I mean, I have no reason. I'm content, and I have upward mobility. I have a retirement plan. I have, life is fair to me, and I feel okay with it. And I'm not really in the mood to, disrupt anything. So that's a problem. So you couldn't use that strategy didn't work. So, and people like that are able to be independent. The government can't really control them because they're, you don't really need the government for anything, right? You've got a strong middle class society, and they can say, we don't need you anymore, government. We're fine. But if you've just huddled masses of poor people that can't afford food, then the government becomes, that's where the food comes from. And that's what they're aiming to do. And that's the program they're using to roll out across the world, pretending it's some kind of global initiative to save the planet when it's masked that way. And what it really is a global initiative to enslave and destroy the middle class and then bring everyone under a centralized global government.
Yeah. Basically make the prosperous nations less prosperous, more desperate, more destitute, just like many of the third world countries already
and that's what the conservatives are doing. We're going to meet the targets, means we're going to put you in jail. We're going to have more censorship laws. We're going to have more of this crap. We're going to take more of your jobs away. Climate taxes are going to increase. All of this stuff is going to continue. 15-minute cities, they're doing it in Halifax now. They're densifying it or whatever the hell they're calling it. The Halifax is on this program. Like, they're doing it everywhere, and he's gonna help. If he wins, I don't think they win. I don't think they can win. The demographics ensure this. 95% of people, new Canadians, migrants, economic migrants, and people of opportunity being ferreted into the country, 95% of them are not white. The messaging in this country and around the Western world is white people bad, all the non-white people need help, they're oppressed, and they need... There it is. They're the oppressed class, right?
Diversity is our strength is
right.
the other
But they're the oppressed class. And if they're the oppressed class, they're not white, and they come to Canada, who do you think they're going to vote for? Are they going to vote for the Conservatives, or are they going to vote for these left-wing policy parties that are saying, brown people and black people, they need so much more help and money and restitution, and they're such victims and special and amazing. But of course they are, because it's in their interest to do that. And they're like, oh, free shit? Thanks. Love some. I'd love some more stuff. I'd love some more money and things. So when they bring in 1 million people into the country and 800,000 of them are going to vote left, you're never going to win an election again. And they're pro that too. So I'm like, they couldn't win last time after COVID. And they're going to win now with 2 million more people. Are they going to win the one after that with 5 million more? It's a runaway train, and it's never coming back. And you have them to thank for it.
Yeah, it's not just the votes. It's the ideas that you're just talking about here that people need to understand. And obviously, this Conservative Party has no interest. They're not even opposing the mass migration. It's so far gone. This country is so far gone.
It's not talked about anymore.
Yeah,
it stopped being basically like abortion. Remember how that was a fight, and then they gave up, and now it's not even talked about. You don't even talk about that anymore. Same with migration. Yeah. It used to be a fight, and now it's like it's a no-go. What is the Conservative Party allowed to talk about?
Price of milk. And people dying. Oh my God, people dying. People crimes specifically crimes that are happening, and we're going to be tough on crime. It's tough on crime and lowering your taxes, price of milk, inflation.
Well, this is another thing that really drives me nuts about this guy is he lies. He's lying to people, and I know he knows this because he's not ignorant. He's not that stupid. He understands how economics works. We're going to bring powerful paychecks. And we're going to end the carbon tax. And listen, we're broke. Inflation's out of control because we printed too much money. We don't have any money, and we're in an incredible amount of debt. And the only way to pay that debt off and balance the books and get things back to a level where we're now actually making money again and not just spending it like fucking crazy people are going to have to be raise taxes and drastic cuts to spending all across the board to make that work. So that means lower standard of living. Things are going to get much worse before they get better. Do you think he's going to do that? Or number two, he goes, we're going to default on all the debts. I'm going to get rid of the Bank of Canada and we're going to issue our own currency. And we're just going to start all over again. And what is the international bank going to do about it? They can suck my PP. He's not going to do that either, right? So what's going to happen if he gets elected? The same as always. Status quo. Things will just continue to bleed and get worse. But it's his turn now. And he gets to wear the fancy hat. And he gets to say, Mr. Speaker. And it's, it continues. And you have these boomers supporting it. And I just sit here and I want to pull my fucking hair out.
Yeah. Yeah, and
somebody should ask him, how are you going to fix the economy? Explain it to me. Like, how exactly? Like, we're going to have powerful paychecks. No, I don't want a platitude. I want a point by point. What is the tax rate going to be? What's the corporate tax rate going to be? What are you going to cut? Are you going to cut foreign aid? Are you going to cut health care? What is there to cut? Where are you going to get this money?
And I feel like I feel like a broken record at this point, but like it needs to be emphasized. He's doing all the things that we don't like about Trudeau, guys.
Yes.
He's not making sense.
And he's
not making financial sense. He's treating you like you're an idiot. He's basically obfuscating the truth of the matter to get political points and to cooperate with the media. You know, it's all the same. Check. And I do want to just quickly jump back to this because I noticed something.
Everybody's fighting in the chat. I love it.
Amazing.
That's good. Conflict is good because that means there's going to be winners and losers sooner or later, and then the winners continue. Not fighting, avoiding conflict and fighting is death. We have to fight, and we have to get to the bottom of this, and somebody has to come out on top. It's going to be us, but we have to crush these people. So,
but I really think we can see how Poilievre is a well-programmed politician here because he gets asked about World Economic Forum question. Okay, and he's like, okay, Trudeau and Bernier are bad. I am good. I am the one who's going to save Canada, right? Like that's how you get. That's his program response to a World Economic Forum question or a Sustainable Development Goals question. Then what about this question where he asks? I'll play it again.
Will you dispose of the Paris Climate Accord? That's the last question. When you're Prime Minister, will you denounce the Paris Climate Accord or no?
So, will you denounce the Paris Climate? Will you denounce the Paris Climate Accord? And like any globalist politician, he says,
hit the emissions reduction targets.
Is it fair to say no? You won't then?
We're going to hit the emissions reduction. He just snaps right to it. We're going to hit the emissions reductions targets. It's like very good, Pierre. Good boy. Good boy.
We're not going to be doing that. I think that's nonsense. We're going to reinvest. We're going to cut all foreign aid pretty much to zero. I'm going to take that money and reinvest it in the energy sector because that's what's keeping this country alive and keeping the lights on, and get the Keystone Pipeline going. And we're going to, reinvest in this country and bring coal energy back, nuclear power, all kinds of things. Invest in the infrastructure in the industry of this country instead of other countries. And as far as Paris goes, it's on fire anyway. And I don't care about its climate accords. Paris is a Muslim country now, so they're not going to do anything.
Dude,
next question.
That was such a beautiful daydream. Guys, it could be so much better. It could be so much better if we had a conservative or a real Canadian like yourself, Jeremy, in there. You would say that. All of your conservative base would lose their minds and love it and be sending you all of their money that they have.
The
media would hate it. The media would hate it, and then your conservative base would hate the media more, and the media would expose the shittiness of the media.
That's something else you mentioned earlier. People hate the media in this country, and every country. They hate it. They instinctively the fucking. So when somebody goes to war with the media, they become very popular. Trump is the most popular right-wing figure in American history, probably. Correct. Like he's way up there. And was he worried? Because he knows how the media works. No, he's like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna destroy you. You're a liar.
Yeah, you're fake news. You're fake news. What is it?
No, get out. You're fired. He didn't care. He just went to town and he just told the truth. He's like, you guys are liars. You just made all this shit up. And why are you even in here? You're a joke, right? And he said things that people have been dying to hear because they all know it's true for decades. And anyone could do this at any time. That's something I think about. Is imagine if there is somebody in the Conservative Party that's just like, I'm so sick of this. And they're just like, you know what? I'm just going for it. And they just get up in the middle of House of Commons on TV or somewhere where there's cameras, and they just go off. And that person would be the preferred leader and most popular person in the Conservative Party by the end of the day. By the end of the day. From one clip, from one 5-minute solid rant telling the truth about the state of this place in the world, you go from no one knows who you are to why isn't he in charge in about an hour? And no one's fucking guts.
I did that repeatedly when I interviewed people at the Convoy and also on June 9th, where there was this one, I don't know what his background was. I forget his name, but he gave this incredible speech, and I was like, okay, you're joining politics, right? Yeah, we need you. You're the one. Yeah, no. People are voting for you. You're the guy. I sensed a real conservative value. Oh my God. Hey, we found one. He's the new leader. This guy right here. Yeah. And then they all say the same thing. Oh, but the politics here is so disgusting. And it's like, yeah, but someone's got to put our waders on and wade into the swamp, guys. Something's got to give here. All right. So
I think it'll be him. Go on.
I was going to change the subject onto your very, very exciting, very, very happy, very, very cool legal proceedings. I'm sure you must love this legal stuff by now, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. You get to learn a lot. You know, it's like you go through the court system. I get to do it 5 times in multiple provinces, different jurisdictions, different languages. You know, it's been a lot to take in. You know, I am incredibly, you know, the planets aligned, you know, for this to get the team that I got. I mean, they couldn't work harder. They couldn't do better. I mean, I've seen elite level performances before in the military, and they're the equivalent. I mean, they're working around the clock and they're doing the homework, and they got it all wrapped up tight. These people are. What do you want them to do? Like there's nothing. It's like they're not taking any time off. They're just, you know, and and the results are coming in, and it's like you're up against very lazy. I mean, you come in there, and we're ready for war. And then the opposing side, the state, is like, oh, man, I was just in Italy. I got so drunk. Ah, wow. They're talking about partying, and, like, they're not in the game at all. They don't know what's going on. They don't care.
You're talking about in the courtroom with, like, your lawyer versus the Crown or the prosecution. Is that what is that another name for it?
Yeah, it's just the Crown. They're acting on the behalf of the king, you know, so they call it the Crown.
State, yeah.
That's, the government, the state.
Yeah, so I am not Viva Fry, so we're not going to go into the gritty details of the legal proceedings. However, I do want to give people kind of a quick summary of what's gone on, and I'm going to go to Kareem Assad's thread here, because to me, as a simpleton who doesn't understand much about all the legal proceedings, I thought this tweet stuck out to me. Police and or the Crown were not forthcoming with disclosure. There are a few possibilities. The police intentionally misled the Crown and withheld evidence, ? Police failed to create proper records, ? Crown did not disclose relevant documents, ? And then also, even more shocking, there was a meeting between Crown Counsel, Burke. Is Burke a security guard or a police officer?
He was a police officer. He works directly for the Premier of Nova Scotia now.
Okay.
But he was a Halifax police officer.
So between the Crown Counsel, a security guard for the chief medical officer.
He's the chief of security, of corporate security. So he's responsible for like the security of the, he answers to the Premier. He works for the Premier.
Right. So they had a meeting, the meeting between Crown Counsel, Burke, and police on the day that you were released on bail.
Mm-hmm.
So, and could you maybe help me summarize this up? Essentially, like this is very like not looking good for these various like people in power positions, because you're not supposed to like do that. You're not supposed to like meet and potentially talk about, a very specific citizen's like legal proceedings. The idea, right?
Basically,
is that about right?
Yeah. Well, so what happened was they had a hearing for a disclosure. Two things. So the disclosure is what's supposed to happen is when you're charged and you come up with this, the state is supposed to provide you like, here's the evidence that we're using against you, and this is what you're going to have to defend yourself against. And we say, okay, well, where's the rest of it? Because there's other pieces of information here that paint a bigger, broader, more accurate picture of what's actually going on, and we want, this, and that. And then
sorry, the reason it's important to mention that is because you were with Morgan May along with a group of other protesters.
Yep.
And you two were singled out for some reason to get arrested and thrown in jail that night. Just you two.
For some reason,
just you two were singled out.
There was a 911 call played in court that was quite interesting. That guy, he called 911, was very chummy with them and was suggesting, are they going to do their jobs, like kind of inferring that we should be dealt with and arrested, and it was really insane and unprofessional and crazy. There's all kinds of meetings happen. Like this is not supposed to happen. The police are supposed to have independence. They're supposed to have, independence of the political apparatus entirely. It's not a politician's job to decide who's a criminal and who isn't, who's to go to jail and who isn't, who gets charged and who doesn't, and what people's bail conditions are. But in this case, it appears that there's something like that is happening. And the point of the motion, so the disclosure motion was, there's other shit that you're not giving us. We know it exists because we FOIA-popped it, the Freedom of Information Act, and found evidence of this. We asked them about it and said, can we have these emails? And they said, we don't know what you're talking about. And we went, it would be this. I already have it. It doesn't exist and lie. That's fine. You can do that on the record. That's cool. So there's that. We want the rest of this disclosure. What did they say at these meetings? Who's talking to who? Who's calling who? Why are you hiding this? And why are you lying about it? We don't know. So we can't say, are the police doing it? We don't know. We just know something's going on, and they're not very forthcoming with it. And then to that point, the other side of this, what happened yesterday was there's an abuse of process motion where our legal counsel is essentially saying you're using your power and authority to just abuse this process and screw with people and do it's illegal. You're being a scumbag. It's a very serious allegation, and the premier's name comes up a whole bunch of times. A number of other government officials and police officers, and this is all in there, and so. All that they have to do is prove, or not prove, but basically convince the judge that we're not proving this or disproving it. We're saying that something's going on here and we need to look at this. And if the judge agrees, then we're going to dig into this. And there's going to be some people on the stand and they're going to be answering questions. And they're going to be forced to. The judge can compel them. No, you must. You have to give them everything on your hard drive. You have to do, or you're in contempt of the court and then you're really going to jail. You're really, right? So... We'll see what happens, and we're gonna on August 21st. I think we're coming back for the judge's decision. We thought she's quite fair, and he heard everybody out. I was not impressed with the Crown's performance. I thought it was quite laughable and terrible, but we'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens on the 21st when she comes back with that decision. But if they do, and if it's favorable, then we're going into let's see what's under the rug, of the province of Nova Scotia, because we're going to really dig into your stuff now. And we're looking forward to that. So yeah, it's all there. She was there. She was kind of live tweeting the whole thing, and the media was there. They neglected to comment. They didn't want to comment on anything. They had a lot to say about how bad and evil Morgan and I were. And then because we were standing on the street outside of somebody's house. So oh my God, terrible, awful, right? What's worse?
Whoa! What? There was a report that you guys were like standing outside or something.
No, this is what we were charged with because we were.
Oh right.
So that's horrible. These terrible people. Oh my goodness. Well, now you have people in court seemingly with receipts. By the way, this wasn't just like a frivolous, nebulous claim with no evidence. They're like, this is you. This is your email. You, the prosecutor in this room. This is you, right? And you're saying there's no relationship between me and the Premier's office. Oh, really? Well, this is you talking to the Premier's office about me. Isn't that interesting? So we're going to find out where this goes, right? And that should not be happening, right? And they was like, you want to talk about a threat to democracy? So you're the government, so you get to decide who goes to jail? And if they stay in jail, if they get let out of jail, under what conditions, this is all, you feel as though you're entitled to do these things. And the Crown feels as though, yeah, you can assist them in doing this, cover it up after the fact, and then when you get confronted with it, go, oh, it's all just baseless conspiracy theories. Oh, we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see about that.
And isn't it just so, it's such poetic irony that
12 other people there, none of them got arrested. Just us, just Morgan and I.
But isn't it just so, it's such poetic irony that you get called a fascist. You are the fascist. You are the one, even though you're the one getting thrown in jail. Like, typically the moral high ground of many of these people are, oh my God, the fascism. It's so authoritarian. It's so horrible. And now when it's actually happening, the establishment is nowhere to be seen. Trudeau is nowhere to be seen to like talk about what may be, because I have my own opinion that it definitely is. You're a political prisoner. You're being, these are political charges. But if this plays out the way that I hope it does, it might be like objectively the case.
Yeah.
That you have been targeted for your political beliefs.
There's like a triangle. I can't remember how this was explained to me before by another lawyer. But you have, the government, the executive branch, and then you have the judiciary. I have a hard time with this word. Judiciary, like the justice system, and then you have the police.
Yes.
They're not supposed to coordinate and collaborate on anything. There should be the police investigate and they detect and investigate crime. If they detect crime, they arrest, they charge, hand over to the judiciary to deal with.
Correct.
It's their only function. The judiciary is not supposed to tell the police who they want arrested. The executive branch is not supposed to work with the judiciary and the police and go, all right, guys, who we get? All right, we're going to get him. All right, and what we're going to, okay, cool. So that's what we're alleging is going on. That's what the abusive process motion is for. And we'll find out next month what they come back with. And there's other things going on as well. I'll have an update probably Monday evening. I can't say anything about it yet, but there's more for everybody that was really hoping for my demise and all of these, stories you read in the news and all that. You're going to be very fucking disappointed, as I've been saying for 2 years. And everyone around me that knows me, that trusts me, that knows what kind of person I am, they stuck by me, and they're seeing it too. They're like, yeah, you were right. I'm like, I know, because I'm not lying. They are.
Mm-hmm. In this specific case, are there, I don't know if you mentioned like charter violations. Is that going to be part of it? Okay.
Yeah, they stole property from me without any authority to do so.
This is the same case or a separate one?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, in this one and in others, it's just, it's a mess. It's a mess.
So I think it's funny because I want to emphasize this, you have a light at the end of the tunnel with some of these cases, some of these things that are going on. And you have said to me multiple times this phrase, which is like, you're innocent if you can afford it. Right. Yeah. And I think in the context of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because many people, rightfully so, have said this piece of paper doesn't fucking mean anything anymore. But it turns out, well, actually, you just need to pay to unlock it. You need to pay a whole bunch of money for the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to actually work for you. You need you need to pay $50,000, at least $50,000 for the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to actually apply to you. Do you have the money for the charter to apply to you, Canadian citizen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though? It's almost like the charter. You need to unlock the charter with a whole bunch of money. That's the only way it actually applies to Canadian citizens.
It's a skill set, right, to navigate the legal system and know all this stuff. And if you don't, you're going to have to hire somebody that does. I mean, you don't have to. You can just defend yourself, and they can appoint a legal aid lawyer, but you get what you pay for. You're not going to get somebody that's really invested in you and really cares that much and isn't,
Especially because courtrooms and the cases can be very tricky the way they kind of do wordplay or try to move the argument around.
Mm-hmm. Like if I didn't have these people and I didn't have him and these guys, I'd still be in jail in Saskatchewan, waiting for trial next year because I wasn't supposed to get out of there, and they had to really go to town to get that done, and it was preposterous, and it was a fight to do that. And this is a country where three cases in Nova Scotia have been dismissed because it went over the time limit. I'm already over that time limit, but I'm special. These 3 cases were for pedophiles.
Really?
So we're not interested in, too bad, let them. But this guy, when I was in Saskatoon, denied bail. There was a murder downtown in Saskatoon, out on bail the next day. Not me. This is the country we're in, and people are trying. Oh no, it's not. There's nothing strange going on here. He's not being treated differently than anyone else. Really, I have a common. So a 266 assault charge is a common assault, which would be if I poked you or I spit on your foot, that would be a common assault. You could be charged for that. Many of these cases you're seeing a lot of people being charged with assault for pushing each other or somebody get hit with a megaphone, like that kind of thing. Right? You're not going to go to jail. It's a piddly little thing. But I get a national warrant, and I have cops flown in from several time zones away with their own private plane, and I have a high-risk warrant team come and do a takedown, right? And I was just like in the driveway, like, yeah, come get me, I guess. You don't have to fucking make a big haul me across the country like I'm Pablo Escobar in ankles and wrist chains and belly chains, solitary confinement, the whole thing for that, right? For this, which and also it's all going to fall apart. There's nothing there, but they just. But if I didn't have the lawyer to pay for it, or rather, if I didn't have the money, thankfully the community came up with most of it to pay this guy to do the work to get me out of there and still be in there. So it's like you might be innocent. But can you fucking do the work to get yourself out? Can you make that case yourself? Probably not. You're going to have to pay somebody to do it. You don't have the money? Guess you're staying in. It doesn't matter if you're innocent or not. It's a bad place to be, man. If you don't have the resources to defend yourself, you're uphill. Because how much money does the government have? Unlimited. They can do this forever. They can throw stuff at you forever. They can get as many experts as they want. They can pay to fly people in, witnesses, whatever it takes. They can move courts around, change dates. Doesn't matter. You, on the other hand, you're going to have to fly here, fly there, pay for this, pay for that, fly this guy. Or you want an expert witness? Or you're going to have to pay him for that too. It's again, you don't have the money to defend yourself. You're not going to get defended. And if you're not going to get defended, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up here in a bit, but how do you feel with all of this kind of unfolding? Because we've seen so many institutions fail since COVID here in Canada, And you've seen even more fail with kind of these trumped up political charges. However, with this lawyer, shouts outs to Sharif Foda, your amazing lawyer, with this like legal team, you are like holding on and like you're finding like a little part of the system that actually might still work with $250,000 helping you, but like it actually working. You know, does this give you kind of like more hope that we can become like a real opposition to the, you know, evil, corrupt people in this country?
In the legal sense, at least in this country, it's not as bad as people probably think. It's harder to. They're separate, all right? The police are a separate entity from like the judges and the courts, who are a separate entity from the politicians. And I mean, they aren't, whatever. But you know, not just this case, but like say like the bail hearings I had for when I was in Saskatchewan. I thought my lawyer did a great job, and he had a great argument, and he made a great case. Now, if the judge ruled in his favor because he was right, and this whole thing is crazy, and there's no reason I should be in there, it's insane. But I needed to pay a guy to make that argument for me to do that, and I couldn't do it myself. So otherwise, I would still be in there. But if that judge had said, no, I disagree, you're staying in here, you have to explain why that is. And that goes on the record, and that becomes part of your legacy as like if you're a hockey player, right? That's on your stat sheet. Yeah. Of like, you're the person that did that. Like you're going to be, you're going to look that up, and you're going to maybe be an example of something. You have to be able to justify what you're doing. So it's going to reflect on you. So if you're going to make some crazy ruling that's just bananas, you're going to be the crazy ruling bananas judge now, and everyone's going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, they take it seriously. They try to be professionals, and nobody wants to be this pariah, partisan, crazy judge that just convicts everybody that's a right-wing person because they don't like them. I mean, you're not going to last very long. The society won't stand for it. And part of the reason why the lawyers explain this to me, that this abuse of process motion is important to them as well as lawyers for the integrity of their profession. Because if they can get away with doing this kind of stuff, it makes them all look bad, and then that's a threat to the whole system as well. Where if you detect, you have a responsibility as an officer of the court, as a lawyer, if you detect something like this is happening, you need to deal with it, because this is a threat to everyone. And then you're going to be part of a system that's corrupt, that's going to be, it's fine, you just rub shoulders with politicians, jail who you want, do whatever. Like, that's not in anybody's best interest going forward of the country and so on. Like, we can't have that, no matter where you stand on the issue. Like, the court system is supposed to prove, guilt or innocence, right or wrong, black and white, facts, not facts, and that's it. Done. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. So, when there's a threat, when there's there's a weed has sprouted up in the garden, you rip that out and you throw it away. And that's part of what this is like, this is no good. You can't be hiding. You can't be deliberately not giving up evidence, like exculpatory evidence. We're like, hey, you guys talking to each other? Are you? They're like, no, we're not. Like, that's a lie. I have you on tape. Oh, well, that doesn't mean anything. Like, that's another lie, and it just keeps going and going. So, like, how far does this go? Who ordered this? How far up the chain? And like Karima posted, it's like, are the police deliberately hiding things? Did they forget? Did someone tell them not to? I don't know. None of this is not the way it's supposed to be, and that's on purpose from somewhere. And we're trying to find out who exactly is responsible for that. And we're going to find out, and somebody's going to be in a world of hurt. It's not going to be me. I didn't do that. I didn't order anybody to break the law or do anything crazy.
Wow, what a twist. So it turns out the only integrity and honor you can find left in Canadian institutions was with lawyers. Sometimes.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot of greasy stuff that goes on there too. But yeah, judges, I mean, you can get unfair, you can get shitty judges. It's like anything else. It's like referees in sports. Probably a better way to put it. Like a referee in a hockey game or a UFC fight or something. It's like some of them will let anything go. Like elbows to the face. They're like, don't care. That's just what they're like. Other ones are super strict, and they call points on everything. And then there's most of them are in between, right? So generally, you hope that they're a decent referee, and if you're innocent, which I am, and you have a good lawyer, which I do, and they can present the facts as they are, which you will, any reasonable referee with a brain in their head will go, oh, well, you're not guilty, Mm-hmm. And that's how it's going to go. So, I mean, I'm not at all, and I've maintained this for 2 years. I said, what am I, insane? If this was all true, like all these cases, like, oh, I've done all these things. Let's pretend that's true. And I'm just chilling. I'm just staying in Canada with my feet up, chilling out. And you had Mubin there for a while being like, you guys are terrorists and this is all if that was true, would I just be chilling out in Canada before before I was arrested taken to Saskatchewan? I could have taken off. I could have gone over the border and I'm just going to hang out with my girlfriend and drive around and see people, because I'm crazy and I'm waiting to die for some reason. I have no instincts to survive or preserve myself whatsoever. Or I'm innocent and I'm very confident I'm going to win. One of those two things is probably true.
Well, also, you would think if this were all true, too, they would try to fast track the case to, put on the public record, hey, this guy is guilty. Look at all this evidence. It's proven,
It's coming up on 2 years now. We're getting into the weeds here, and it's they're not in a hurry to deal with any of this.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere, and I've expressed I want to go to court. I want to go to trial. I want to take these people right to the fucking mat because I know how it's going to go. And they're, not super motivated to do that. They could, if they wanted to prosecute this in 8 months or something, they probably could have. Why didn't they? What's going on here? I'm just, I can only, what can I do? I'm just sitting here waiting. So if people why don't you go ask them? Why don't you go ask the RCMP, or why don't you go ask the Department of Justice? Why don't you ask the Premier of Nova Scotia what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that you win your cases, of course, and I hope that those wins lead to much more winning beyond just your cases into the culture war for the war, metaphorical war happening in this country.
It'll serve as a chill effect. I mean, on the one hand, when they do this to people, like they come after me, or if they come after you, they come after anybody, and they arrest you and they charge you and they slander you in the media, and it sends a chill effect, and everyone goes, "Oh, geez, I don't want that to happen to me," and they kind of get back out of the way. But for those that stick it out and fight on and don't give in, they don't kill themselves or whatever, and they say, "Fuck you, make me, you're not gonna get away with this," and you come out the other, and now the tables start to turn. And the truth starts to come out, and then the chill effect is going to go the other way. So if you think you're going to do this to people like this in this country and you can get away with it, there's not going to be any consequences. You're not going to have egg on your face. You're not going to get fucking sued. You're not going to be made to look ridiculous. You're wrong, and that's how this is going to go. And that could be anybody else. So any of these cops or politicians or anybody out there think they're going to just do this and there's not going to be any consequences, I'd be very careful, because that's not necessarily true. I don't know where you think you are, but last time I checked. Yeah. You gotta be careful.
Man, I think we're gonna leave it at that, because that was so well said, and I think you're right, man. You are standing up for yourself. You're standing up for the rest of us. You're saying, hey, corrupt politicians, you can't just bully people, okay? Corrupt institutions, you can't just bully people around and throw them in jail for no reason. This is a really fucking important issue, okay? That started with the trucker convoy, especially to multiple people, but especially you. So obviously, thanks to your legal team and thanks to you as well. What you were saying?
Oh, just one of the things the prosecutor said in the court that I thought the chat and I thought the people would appreciate. One of the things that I thought he's amazing. I don't want to. He's got a big head already. I don't want to kiss his ass too much and make him too arrogant. But the lawyer, he's great. One of the things he said, he was talking about political freedom, or the freedom of expression, the freedom to political expression specifically. He's telling the judge about this, and he's like, not everyone cares to be politically active, and that's fine. They don't have to be, but these people do. They care very deeply about their, the political beliefs. Morgan and I are both, charged the same, in the same trial, and that's been taken away from them. They've been put restrictions on their speech, who they can talk about and what they can say. These are charter protected rights in this country. And they've had their political expression taken away, this kind of stuff. And then the Crown goes, there's no evidence these people are politically active. This is all. It's like, I'm not into politics. Really? I've never. Oh, this is just a coincidence then. There you go, guys. Wow. According to the really well-informed, totally on top of things, Crown prosecutors, I'm not really a political active person. I don't really engage in any of this stuff. So.
And that's a perfect analogy of why I think we can win this. For us,
it helps when you're innocent.
Well, and I see that as a reflective of like the entire political battle. When you have people on our side that are nationalistic, like they're connected to their family, to their lineage, to their country, and it's a deep thing that they feel in their bones, in their heart. Whereas these people are like, it's my job. I showed up as the Crown today, and whatever. I can't wait to start drinking. Like, is it quitting time yet? It's like these people aren't in it to win it. They don't care. Like they're in this like superficial reality where they don't care about the country. They hardly even care about their family. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm going a bit too deep with that. But it's just a job, right?
I have faith in it that I've seen enough to know that if things are done properly and if you are innocent and it can work out. It's not the end of the world. It's not. You can still go either way. You never know. Something could go sideways and they could side with the crown. I don't know. You never know. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not losing sleep over it, and I'm confident. And even still, let's pretend somehow, you get convicted on these, and you're going to do 3 years in prison. That's fine. Whatever. It doesn't change anything. I'm going to say no. Not true. I'm still innocent. I don't care what they say or whatever. But if that's what happens, that's what happens. But it's I can't. What's done is done. The ink is dry, as they say, right? So. I'm not going to turn away from anything now. This deep into the game, and all I can do is can do the best I can going forward, and cross your fingers and hope for the best, and prepare for the worst. So that's what we're doing. But we've got great lawyers. I know the position. I know what happened. I know it didn't happen in each one of these cases, and I'm confident that it's not. It'll be sorted out. It'll get the truth will come out, and it'll be. It's very detailed. They really get into the weeds on all this stuff, and it's going to be public. It's going to be there for everybody to see. And, I predict there's going to be a lot of crow eating and coping and conspiracy theories and crazy nonsense to justify.
But actually, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's just because, and that's only, I can hear it already, and I'm just, it's okay. Because,
told you so. I was right. The day is coming. The day is coming. But
we always
it's amazing because
world's tiniest violin will be playing for you as much as you want.
No, it's great, man. Hey, thanks for sharing your time this evening. We're gonna wrap it up here, and you're really in the catchphrase of the show is it's okay to demand higher standards, and I think you're doing that by standing up for yourself legally. Because I feel like a lot of people might even despair and be like, oh, what am I going to do? But you said, you know what? I am going to fight this. And you're showing why that's so important and why that's like so crucially important to the integrity of what's left of our nation. Really hanging on for dear life. But
this is a huge spider I'm trying to capture and show. I don't think I'm going to. Oh, my God. He's attached to the ceiling. I got to get out of this basement, Greg. Oh, my God.
All right. Well, with that, there's much.
Yeah, Lewis says. Lewis, this doom spot. I don't know if he can. Where's the camera lens?
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
oh
quite
my goodness,
yeah,
that's huge.
I got to get out of here, Greg. This place is a nightmare.
Is that what the opposing? Is that what the persecution? Is that what the crown looks like?
Yeah, that's one of the crown witnesses, I think.
You're right.
He's I'm trying to keep him happy.
Oh, there's just more and more problems in the life of Jeremy MacKenzie, I guess.
Bigger and scarier. I got to get out of this basement.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Jeremy. And as always, it is okay to demand higher standards.
Thanks,
guys.
Cheers.